Now, if you're joining us and you didn't see the first episode, you should go back and check that out. This is a review of E3 recently, 2021. We're going through the games that we saw at the Microsoft and Bethesda conference. For everybody else who just joined us from the last episode, thanks for continuing onwards. Like I said, this is going to be a very interesting one. I am your host, Space Tomato. This is Draazen, and we're going to take you on a little journey through some of the best games I've seen in a while. So our first one is, I think me and you both said that this completely caught our attention. It came out of
Mhm.
nowhere. The trailer started out, and I was like, this kind of looks, it made me think of some of those sort of story-based games oh, like Life is Strange, or what's that game
Mhm.
with Ellen Page? I can't remember, but it felt like a very calm and just not an interesting game to me, really. But as it slowly went on, we started to see these like themes of aliens and science fiction and like suspense. What did
Mhm.
you think going through that trailer?
God, that trailer, man. I don't know what it was. The style of the game, the creators of the game, never heard of. But man, this trailer knocked me off my feet and didn't let me get back up. We started at a farmhouse, little family chilling on the couch. Okay, nothing too crazy.
Yeah.
But it's always something foreboding, right? It's very dark out. It's night. And then
Yeah.
it pans to the city that this farm is next to. And why does the highway have a bunch of vehicles that are kind of overturned or stopped in the road and nobody else is there?
Yeah. That
And it
was
just
the
kind of
weird
from
part.
there, suspense kept going up and up
Hmm.
and up. And it was just, from
Yeah.
there, it just went out hitting. I was like, holy crap,
It was
awesome.
it was funny how they went from like normal scenes around this sort of prairie country setting, and
Mhm.
then suddenly there was just a shot of like this massive traffic jam where all these cars were abandoned on the road, and I was just like, that's out of
Mhm.
left field. What's going on here? And then they kind of started to show like, okay, there's some stuff floating over the city here. Okay, there's some stuff falling to the ground here. Holy crap, somebody just died. And then they go back to
Mhm.
that original scene in the farmhouse, and like you see
And then the
something.
sounds of
Yeah.
something. And it was
Yeah,
like,
and you see a shadow
oh,
and the kid wakes up.
yes.
Yeah, that was very, very intriguing. It was well done.
Very well done.
I'm very excited for that. It's actually from the makers of uh Limbo and Inside, which are two very, very artistically powerful games. If you go and you look at them, you will see that this company is very, very heavy on their aesthetic look. They want their game to stand out in a simple format, and I think they did a good job with this one as well. That only acts as a build-up, though, and appetizer to what is, I would say, the highlight of the game, or the highlight of the show, the highlight of the year. This is the game that I think me and Drazen probably cross over the most on. It's the game that I've loved for the longest in my life. It's a very important game to me and a lot of people around the world. That is Halo. Halo Infinite got actually not as much screen time as I thought it would, which was disappointing. You know, my first reaction to the game was actually a little lukewarm. I was not too certain about the multiplayer. The campaign looked good, and I know the multiplayer will be good. I wasn't just super happy about the tone or some of the directions they had made, but then they came out and brought this new video yesterday where they
Yes, and they
spoke
also
towards
did a
details.
mhm. They released a video and, they did their own stream as well, which was really cool. And I feel like they just appetized their audience with E3, but then they decided to kind of go into explanation more and really, put the community at ease with any concerns that they have. So I think as far as coordination goes, it seemed maybe a tad off. But by God, when they put out that video and they did their community stream, any worries or concerns put at ease for me personally, and I know for a lot of other people in the community. But Tomato, I know you've got a rant that you are prepped here for, multiple paragraphs, whole story looking to be published right now. So man, I want to hear it.
Oh boy. Well, there are different there are different things that I wanted to talk about.
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
Where do
so
you start?
I want to start with how the strategy that they're going for with Halo is different from what they've done in previous games. I think that's most
Mhm.
obvious in that they're making the multiplayer free here. it goes back to what I said earlier. Gaming communities, Twitch streams, esports, name it, whatever it is in the gaming industry, groups are forming around people, around places, around groups, or I said groups, around other people. And all of these places, they all talk about different games, but generally, I mean, we've tried to get the community to play a game, right? People don't really want to go out and buy an extra game
Hmm.
just to play it with other people. They want to spend the money on games that they really want to play. If you make your
Yes.
game free, that wipes out that barrier. It's gone, completely gone. Now all you have to do is convince somebody the game is good enough. And I mean, it's Halo. Like it's even if it's a bad Halo game, it would still be a good free game. Like even if
This isn't your Xbox Solitaire checkers,
yeah,
right?
yeah, like if Halo 4 was free, then it probably would have been successful. It was successful, but it would have been more so because even though people considered the multiplayer to be bad, a free game is a free game and people are going to play it. So that kind of is the first domino in this strategy that I see them coming out with Halo. The second, go ahead.
I was gonna say it has worked for me as a consumer. I've completely fallen prey. A game that has done this is Call of Duty's Modern Warfare Warzone.
Mhm.
I have not bought Warzone at all. I have not bought Black Ops. I have played Warzone more than I have played some games that I have paid full price for. And also on top of that, I've probably spent in Warzone alone, a free to play game, probably about 40 to 45, maybe even $50 from their game packs that allow me to get access to some weapons earlier instead of having to progress with them, or skins and cosmetics. So
So they're making money.
that's my little bit on it. So
Yeah.
they're still making money from me without me having to buy the actual game. So it does work. But
And
anyway,
even if you don't spend money, you're still valuable to the game. Part of making a game free to play means that game just keeps the numbers up. And no
mhm,
game continues to be successful if it loses its community, even if that community is dedicated.
mhm,
Because for every 100 people that play the game, only 10 of them are going to be spending money. So you need to
mhm.
bolster that size as much as possible. But the second part of this strategy I was talking about, this idea that they're making it easy for people to play the game, easy to pick it up, easy to go, is this academy. This is something I told you, I think, after the first reveal. I felt like they were going sort of the Halo 4 route with
Mhm.
Sarah Palmer being this Spartan that is over the company, telling them, oh, get into your Spartan games, fight each other to get better, work hard on
Mhm.
your progress, all that stuff. They're kind of doing that with the new Spartan, but they're doubling down and bringing in this thing called Academy. And
Mhm.
holy crap, what this is going to do for Halo. So, on top of the Academy being this sort of introductory area where you learn about the game, learn the lingo, learn the stuff that you didn't learn over the last 20 years of people playing Halo, you can also go to a firing range. You can shoot at moving NPCs to get better at aiming. You can spawn an entire match filled with NPCs so that you can just skirmish on your own. You can just play a Halo match on your own with intelligent bots. Now, who knows how good they're going to be, but this never been done in Halo. And
So I'm going to jump in and say, one, this academy will be offered free with multiplayer
yeah,
because it's a
of
multiplayer
course.
oriented thing.
Hmm.
The bots, I will say, they did tell us that you can scale their difficulty, meaning the AI that they have in the game can be like, what's the hardest mode in campaign that you could play?
Legendary.
Legendary. You can set their skills to legendary, where they are literally AI that is better than even the top, MLG players. Kind of difficult. You will be able to scale them, and they will be brutal or just easy to shoot at. You can scale their health and their shielding, so you will have a lot of input of that, which you'll get to practice with offline. For free, something that Warzone doesn't do. If you want that feature, you have to actually buy the full game. But I did
Yeah.
want to say that.
But the player experience here is just absolutely insane. And you don't even have to pay for it. Honestly, here you can tell Microsoft felt the fire. I think they felt the fire with Halo 5. And they've been building this new engine. They know it's a big investment, it's a big shot. They are going all in on Halo, I think. And they are shooting for it to be the top shooter again. It seems like they're really trying to tick all the boxes to make sure
Mhm.
this is the top shooter people are playing. And they might not do it. there's a really good chance they won't. I think this game still isn't quite as accessible as something like, I mean, any of the battle royales or Call of Duty or something like that. But I think they'll get up there. I think they'll get close.
Absolutely. And I mean, you really have to understand what 343 and Microsoft by extension is trying to do. They wanted Infinite to be a great way for folks to enter the Halo franchise, to hop in and not feel too left behind as far as the story goes, as far as, with the academy, with, call outs and weapons and different gameplay scenarios. So I think multiplayer will be something that both veteran and new players alike will find really, really fun and really, really engaging, especially with the return of big team battle.
Yeah. Yeah. And going back to the strategy I was talking about what they were, well, I guess kind of it doubles down on what you're saying, their strategy, and is that, well, let me go back. The third domino in this list is balanced
Mhm.
starts. This is something that's been very traditional with Halo. Most of the veterans that play Halo will tell you that if you're not starting with the same weapons, then you're not playing Halo. And some of the games
Mhm.
strayed away from this a little bit with loadouts, with the ability to equip different weapons, attachments, equipment, and people weren't very happy with that. That might still be a thing
Mhm.
in another mode, but it sounds like for core Halo gameplay, they're doubling down on balanced starts.
Mhm.
You pick up dropped weapons, you pick up weapons that have been spawned in, dropped from orbit, but now they're also equipments. This is another thing that they did in the past that didn't go over too well with everybody. But this time, instead of making equipment a pick up and use type of thing, they allow you to pick it up and put it in your inventory and carry it around if you want to use it. And you can get killed and drop it. So it's now more like a weapon. It's like a thing that can be
Mhm.
leveraged, used against you. You can get it stolen from you. And that, I think, makes the sandbox that is Halo gameplay expand that much more. And I don't know if they're going to work that well, but the added variable on a game that already plays like a chessboard is just, it's going to be an amazing multiplayer experience if they are able to nail it.
Absolutely. And I know right now we've talked quite a bit about multiplayer, but what do you feel about the campaign reveal that we saw?
Well, they revealed uh essentially the new version of Cortana, which was, I didn't think they were going to do that, but yeah, they brought out the weapon, who is an AI that was created specifically to destroy Cortana and then delete herself. Now, this weapon, if you look closely, actually has a serial number that's one above Cortana, which leads us to believe that maybe she's actually the just another copy of Dr. Halsey's data. Dr. Halsey being the blueprint for Cortana. So it's possible that she has the same thought process, the same sort of, obviously not the same personality given the video, but maybe some
Hmm.
of the same quirks and ways of thinking as Cortana, which would be very interesting. And it's a very easy way for them to kind of transition to another AI and sort of not be pigeonholed by that rampancy storyline again.
Hmm.
But I'd be more interested in seeing what happens with Master Chief. Are they going to continue to have him be the hero of the story moving forward? Are they going
Hmm.
to, maybe have him pass on the crown? Are they going to have this AI actually be a permanent replacement? It's the campaign is the nervous part, but I also think that they, like I said, have learned from their mistakes. They know a little bit more of what people want. I think they can make a better campaign than they have been.
Yeah, I mean, it's tough. We've been playing Halo essentially almost since its inception. We've always had Cortana around, and not having her has been strange, and it's be hard to replace her. I wonder when we end up finding OG Cortana in her state of rampancy, how she'll take to Master Chief moving on
Hmm.
essentially from her, because we knew from Halo 2 and 3 with the Grave Mind, he tried to Im- input this thought into her that, oh, Master Chief will just move on, because we know if AI can love, if there's any capacity, Cortana did have that for Master Chief, and maybe that was reciprocated.
I mean,
If a Spartan can do that.
she actually said that to him, right? The idea that she was like, there's gonna be a day when you replace me or something like that. You're gonna replace me with somebody else in your helmet, and it won't be me. Or they're gonna replace you with another version of me, and it won't be me. And now it's
Yep.
happening.
Exactly. Yeah, and I think it's good. I think they definitely need to get away from the whole Ramsey storyline. Cortana, OG, they need to resolve that storyline and finally move on from it. I will say, you kind of spoke about the weapon, this new AI. Um, After reading some comments on Eckhart's Ladder, and I definitely get this vibe where it feels like the UNSC is moving away from the AI of Cortana's age, which were more independent thinkers that maybe, fought back a little bit or kind of had their own inputs, because this weapon feels a lot more obedient and a lot more square,
And
if
she's
that makes
wearing a
sense.
military uniform.
And she's wearing a military uniform. She's not, the leather skin tight bodysuit
Yeah.
Cortana. She looks more professional and more by the books.
I always thought Cortana
Which,
was just naked.
honestly,
I
I
don't
didn't
I
want
don't
to say
actually
it, but yeah, I
know,
always thought
but
she was naked. You could
I've
see every curve. It was like, okay, all
I've
right,
never
yeah.
really known for sure. I just kind of assumed. But
Mhm.
Roland also, the AI in Halo 5, I think it was.
Yeah, he had
He's
more of
also
a
I think he's
kind of
also
had more
pretty
of a
military.
he was, and he was actually one that didn't end up following Cortana as well. I mean, he's the Infinity's AI, so you'd hope he'd
Yeah.
be top of the line. But his military outfit looked more maybe off-duty military, kind of rugged kind of vibe. It didn't look like an official UNSC uniform, so to speak, but it looked a little more rugged and a little more unique. So I
You,
wonder what generation Roland is compared to the weapon,
well, you don't feel like he was kind of the same way though? He was more an extension of the ship rather than his own personality?
Yes.
Cuz
Yes, I do feel like that is a similarity. Yes, absolutely.
because then you look at somebody like, I don't remember her name, but the AI who was in Halo Wars 2, who was just completely independent. She was her own person. She wore what she wanted. She acted how she wanted. She straight up attacked and killed people because
Mhm,
she knew that was the best way to do it. That
mhm.
that is, I guess Cortana does kill people too. She does that. She's kind of
Yeah,
she definitely does that. But I feel like that
yeah.
AI being so old actually does kind of play into that theory that the UNSC is trying to maybe tighten the noose around, or that's not the right term, tighten
T
the
Tighten things up,
belt
tighten the
around the
yeah,
AI.
tight yeah, 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 make them
But
fall in line a bit more.
that's a good point. I didn't think
Mhm.
about that. It's it's going to be an interesting story for sure. And
Absolutely.
I'm sad that they're replacing Cortana. I really am, but there is a lot there's a lot to see in Halo, and we barely touched it. So if we need to lose a couple characters to get deeper into the story and the lore of Halo, then so be it. But I
Mm,
will be interested in seeing how the rest of the world is reacting too, because we're always just trapped inside the Master Chief's helmet. I'd love to see how, how things are back home, what's going on at Reach, what's going on at Earth, what's going on across the galaxy.
the real question is, how are we going to get along without Cortana? But how are you going to get along without me? Because you're going to be losing me for a couple days while I play Halo.
I will probably be doing the same, so don't worry.
Oh yeah, man. Hey, you want to do the campaign co-op when it comes out?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. But I
Anyway,
think that's yeah, I think we've exhausted Halo for now. For
for
now.
now.
Oh yeah. Let's move on to another one that kind of caught my eye that I don't know if you've heard about, but a Plague Tale Requiem. I actually think I was gonna talk about this later, but we'll do it now. I've heard the first one's amazing. I honestly I don't even know what kind of gameplay it is. I don't know what kind of game it is. I've just heard good things. I've heard like play the first one definitely, and now that I see they're making a sequel, that kind of tells me okay, there's good investment in this. It's a lasting story. Maybe it's worth looking into. Have you played it or heard of it?
Um, no, I have not. I I've heard of a Plague Tale Innocence. Is that like a continuation of that story?
Might be a DLC or
It is.
something.
It is.
Yeah,
I'm looking right here. It's a sequel to it. So okay, yeah.
a sequel.
Yeah.
So this is the third game coming out.
y-
Requiem.
Yes. Yeah. So we're excited to bring light a Plague Tale Requiem, a sequel to a Plague Tale Innocence. Yeah.
Maybe a Plague Tale
So
Innocence is the first one.
yes,
It's
I
just
think
the
it's the
subtitle
first
of the
one.
first one. Yeah.
And this will be the emotional second chapter. So yeah, there might be more chapters. Um, I heard about the first one, and it wasn't something I was interested in. So I'm assuming it'll be just the same situation with me, not a game I'll play. But
Yeah.
did you dig into it at all?
No, I don't know what it's about at all. But
Hmm.
I've heard good things, and now that this second one has came out, I've watched some of the trailers and reactions, and people were saying like, yes,
Hmm.
this is going to be a good game. Definitely go play the first. So I'll probably try it out. I'll pick it up, see if it's on sale or something. It might be on
Okay,
Game Pass. So yeah.
gotcha.
Um, and then we moved on to Far Cry 6, which
Oh,
I mean we've seen.
so
I feel like I've
cheap.
seen half the game already. Like we've seen so many videos of
Yeah.
this game now.
Oh yeah.
Did we get any new info, or was it just a trailer with Giancarlo and some new weapons?
It was nuts. Something I'm going to touch on much later in this podcast was the Summer Game Fest 2021, hosted by Amazon Prime. Had an interview with Juan Carlo Esposito. Dude, they've been releasing a ton of interviews and videos just everywhere, man. I feel like they're just going automatic spraying everything everywhere.
Yeah,
Um,
sounds like
I
Ubisoft.
mean, sounds like Ubisoft, right? So completely in line with how they typically run things. I never played the Far Cry series. I know the last Far Cry
Oh
people
my
were like,
gosh.
you need to be a little more political. Well, whatever. So this is again
Wait, what?
another return to their
People
roots.
said they need to
Yeah.
be more political?
Oh, yeah. They were saying you need to make blatant political statements, completely opposing all of these, far wing movements and things like that. And they're like, hey, this
Who
is
was
a
saying
a
this?
game. Just a couple different editorial pieces out there from different people who report on games. They were just maybe they're also fringe element kind of reporters, but they were saying that
I
the Far
wanna
Cry series needs to be more. And I was like, hey, it's a video game. Come on, guys, it's not that deep. We use video games to escape the world, right? Not
well,
put
I mean,
ourselves more in it.
but if you think about it, I'm thinking of all Ubisoft's biggest franchises: The
Yeah.
Division, Assassin's Creed, Watch
Hmm.
Dogs, Far Cry. These are all political series. Like they're all
Yeah,
based on politics.
they're all based on politics, right? But they scratch the surface of politics, or they dig a small hole in politics, right?
Yeah.
They don't fully immerse the entire story and experience to drive home a point, a major point to people, right? It's just a game. It's not that deep, right? People are wanting it to be deeper than it actually is. They're wanting these political statements to be made in your face, and that's their company, right? They're not.
I would suggest you check out Far Cry 2. It sounds kind of
Mhm.
like that's what they're cuz that is how the games used to be. They used to be pretty freaking in your face. The recent
Mhm.
games, Far Cry 4, Primal, and I think there was one other one.
Mhm.
Actually, Far Cry 4 felt like it was kind of getting there too, but some of the other ones were definitely a little less so. So I don't know if maybe
The
that was the catalyst for calling for that.
Which game was it? The one that was very it was like a militaristic nation that like had tanks rolling around on the streets. Was that one the most recent Far Cry? Or
Had
was that
tanks
4?
rolling around on the streets. The one with the cult?
Maybe. I want to say
That was the most recent one. I actually
that
I
was the
forgot about
most.
that one. That one was super political
Mhm.
too.
So that was one that they said wasn't political enough. They said there were some editorial pieces which I can send you at some point of people saying, and of course, during the time that this game was being played or released too, I believe, was the time of our past president. We just moved on from. People were essentially saying, "Oh, you need to make statements in this game that are completely against any of these kind of ideologies." The problem is people who you know, support certain political parties, if you completely make a statement denouncing these parties, you might be at risk of, completely removing a fan base, which is not, again, they're a company, right? They can make political statements as much as they want, but they can't go too far with it because then they'll end up turning off people from their fan base, which again, they're there to make money. They're there to, you know, try and garner the attention of as many people as possible and not put sour tastes in everybody's mouths. But if you go too far with that, which is what people were essentially asking them to do, um,
Yeah, well,
you
people are
know,
dumb. Everybody wants a
mhm,
game to do exactly what they want, but you
what
know,
they want, make the statements they want. Again, they multi-million dollar, billion-dollar companies in some cases, they can't do that. Just don't ask for more than what you can bargain for, right?
Well, regardless of that, the
Mhm.
games, Far Cry games are always based on destabilizing the ground under a rather maniacal
Mhm.
person. And they've, oh my gosh, the villains in the games have always been good, particularly in Far Cry 3, with Voz, who has an amazing voice actor. He's very talented. He's also on a couple of different TV shows. So it's very clear why they picked the villain they did for this game. And I think I like that I can see they have that consistency. They know that that's their strong suit, villains. They're going to stick with that. What I also like about this game is that they're going more in the line of a true RPG, in that you can do things like putting your gun away when you need to in order to sneak around. Um, you can uh, you can pick up and use things from the ground to create weapons, much like you would do in something like Fallout. These are elements that are being added to a game that I thought was a little bit too boring. It was a lot of the same. I didn't get to really differentiate my experience from a lot of people, and I like that Far Cry's kind of leaning on that a little bit, much like honestly they did with Assassin's Creed. It's not going as far as Assassin's Creed, but it's cool to see that they're doing that in different games.
Absolutely.
But this is one that I think I don't think I'm gonna buy, but I will look out for. I'll keep an eye out for. I'll read the reviews and we'll see. I didn't play the last Far Cry very much. I bought it, and then I didn't play it much because it had those problems that I mentioned. But this may be something I look at. What about you?
I've only the Far Cry series has passed in my radar a few times. I played the most recent one at my friend's house while I was hanging out with him because he was trying to get me interested in the Far Cry series.
Mm.
It's not the style of the game and the stories, while they're very unique and very interesting in many of the cases. And as you've said, the villains are always phenomenal. Juan Carlos Esposito, they couldn't have chosen a better bad guy. He's awesome. I know this game's probably going to be cool. It seems like this new game will be a game that fans of the Far Cry series will like. Not a game that I would like or get. I'm very when it comes to games that aren't Star Citizen, I protect my wallet a little bit more.
Mhm.
But I also don't get game passes, which we'll talk about later. I when I see a game I like, I buy it full price. So I've been pre-ordering stuff. But I tend to buy a game, get it, focus my life on it for weeks to months.
Living in the
To really play through it.
past.
Yeah. And that's the way I've always done it. But Far Cry was never one of those games that I was ever interested in getting. Just
Fair enough. Fair
not my
enough.
kind of game.
Fair
Hmm.
enough. I'm gonna go ahead and slide right on over the next game, Slime Rancher, unless you had something to say about it.
Nope. Nope. Had
I
nothing
thought
to
it
say about
was,
that.
yeah, it looks like a party game. It looks like it's fun. I've heard good things about, I think this is a sequel, but I've heard good things about the first one. So if you're into those party games, check it out, but not,
Hmm.
not really for us. And then the next game as well. I know that you're not really into snowboarding game. I am a snowboarder. I love snowboarding. I was a huge fan of SSX Tricky. Unfortunately, this doesn't look like it's going to be quite the same tone, but again, I'll keep an eye on it. Just probably not another one I'll buy. But
You're not going to be shredding the nar in freaking video games.
I like doing that in real life, dude. It's fun to do in video games because you do the stuff that you could
Yeah.
just never do in real life. But
Yeah.
I I'm not as easily captured by games as I was as a kid now, so I don't think a snowboarding game would actually hold my attention as long anymore.
I gotcha.
Yeah. Atomic Heart, on the other hand, I mean, if the trailer's anything to go by, you remember that trailer?
I did. Yeah. Definitely
That
kind of
was,
shock. Yeah. Shock light. Bioshock kind of vibes.
yeah. Tonally
Hmm.
speaking, that was just the weirdest trailer the entire convention. It just
Hmm.
like it starts out kind of weird and then it just drops into like this very energetic sort of pop music, but all you're seeing on the screen is like haunting images of like weird weapons and crazy
Hmm.
beings and like people getting killed and attacked, and I'm just like, this is very, I feel like somebody
Yeah.
put in the wrong music here, but
Hmm.
it definitely, it looks like a mix between, say, BioShock, Prey, and Half-Life Alex. Not in that it's VR, but just the styling of Half-Life Alex and the things that you see. There's like this weird combination of strange sci-fi and a depressive dystopia.
Hmm.
But it also feels kind of grounded in that nothing looks too fantastical. It's a very weird looking game. Another one I'm going to keep an eye on. It reminds me of Scorn. Scorn is also a weird game, but yeah, I don't really know about this one. I'll keep an eye on it. It's just a weird looking game.
Hmm.
Replaced though is another one that you're not interested in, right? This is the
No, this was that game that really drove the conversation about me not liking platformers. I had played some platform games in the past, Little Big Planet, and I played it for 10 minutes and just decided from that point on I don't want to play platformers. It's really interesting. It's the cyberpunk genre is coming into games more with cyberpunk really priming the market. It's good to see that. It's not a Deus Ex by any means, but it's cool seeing this kind of genre getting more recognition in other forms with being a platformer game. It looks kind of cool, but that's really all I've got to say about it.
the genre kind of thrives in indie games. You see like
Yes.
these indie games coming out here and there, cyberpunk themed. I do hope we get more of the big title ones. But this one,
Mhm.
I like platformer games. Assassin's Creed, Tomb Raider. I mean, Assassin's Creed's kind of the Tomb Raider. Um, Jedi Fallen Order had some of the aspects. But the adventure aspect of platformers is fun. I am not, however, a 2D game player. I generally stay away from 2D games, but this is the most. This game looks like art. It is beautiful. I'm not a huge fan of the gameplay style, but I want to play this game because it looks so fresh. And I don't usually buy games for the looks, but man, this one looks magical. The presentation is amazing. It's very eye catching, and it looks quite quick. The only other
Mhm.
side scrolling game I've ever really liked was Ori, and Ori lets you get real quick with your gameplay. I tried Hollow Knight. I know it's a good game, but it just didn't really fit with me. This one, I'm excited to try this one. I will buy this probably. I'm imagining it's not going to be super expensive. I'll probably buy this if it's not on Game Pass.
Yeah.
Now, Grounded is a oh boy, Grounded. I don't even know what to define Grounded, but it's another project I think by Obsidian, same company that makes Outer Worlds,
Mhm.
and it's just like you're shrunk, you're really small. It's like a normal action adventure game. You're just really small. So
Yeah, it looked really unique. It was kind of this period after Atomic Heart, and I watched part of Replaced after that. I think I went and grabbed lunch or something.
mhm,
So I didn't see Grounded. I did go back and watch a quick video of it though, but
mhm.
not another
Yeah,
game that I'm
it's never
interested in.
really
But
interested in me either.
yeah.
And then we got an update on Among Us. Basically, it's coming to Xbox finally.
Mhm.
It's going to have 15 player lobbies. Not a game I've ever played. I know it's very popular, but again,
Mhm.
we might maybe bring it into the community. It's a good community game, but I haven't heard anybody talk about it. So for
I
now,
haven't either.
yeah, kind of off the radar. And then there's this actually wasn't in the Xbox. Well, no, it was in the Xbox show. It was the new Vampire Masquerade game. Now I don't know if this was a DLC, an
Mhm.
expansion, a new game, or what, but there's already Bloodlines 2 that's being produced for the Masquerade series. This might actually be a different studio. I'm not really sure what the deal is around the series of Vampire Masquerade, but this was another project that they announced, and it looked pretty cool, and I was very excited to see it, and I was surprised to see it. Another one to stay on my radar. Have you
Yeah, that
ever?
was one I was just trying to look up right now to see which
Yeah.
studio made it.
Have
That was one
you?
that actually a really good friend of mine is really into that series, which
Okay.
really struck my passive interest in it. I'm not really into it, but I know if I talk to him about it, he'll probably give me a whole deal about it. So
I don't know anybody who plays it. I've just seen talk about it online, but it sounds like a cool game. I
it
like the
does
idea of like
absolutely.
freaking sucking some blood and punching some heads off. Aren't vampires like really strong?
Yeah, yeah. So, well, supposedly, I guess depends on what game you play. Sometimes they're super weak zombie-like, and sometimes they're like freaking super villains.
Nah, man. I want.
Castlevania was one that I did play a lot, and that was pretty cool.
Hmm. Castlevania is a kind of like a hack and slash, right?
Oh, 100% hack and
Yeah.
slash. But yeah, that's one of the versions of vampires I guess you get, is a lot more powerful
Yeah,
in some ways.
yeah. And then the Ascent was like an isometric top-down squad shooter. Not not super interesting to me, but it's coming out. I think I have it's coming out in July. It's coming out next month. So it
Hmm.
kind of the stuff that they showed, and this is something I'll get on later, but the stuff they showed is not far off. And this is a
Mhm.
game that, again, doesn't interest me that much. It looks like a fun shooter though, but that's going to be another one that I probably won't be touching.
Yeah, the top down style is just not a thing that I was ever into. Um, yeah, not my kind of game.
Did you ever see Gears Tactics? I don't know if you're a Gears of
Yeah,
War
I
guy,
did.
but
Yes, I'm a big Gears of War guy, and I
Mhm.
love Gears of War 5, and I was kind of hoping we'd see something because 2019, I actually got Game Pass for, I think it was like 99 cents for the 1
Yeah,
month
that
or 3
promo.
months or
Yeah.
whatever. That promo, I took advantage of that, and I did that just to play Gears of War when it came out, and I thought Gears of War 5 was awesome.
Yeah.
But yeah, I have heard of that game, and that was not one that I enjoyed.
Yeah. Well, I so you played it.
Yeah, no, I didn't play it.
Oh. Oh, look at him. I didn't
No.
enjoy it, but I didn't touch it. I I I don't like the top-down games, but I heard that that game's really good. And if a company does it well, it's enjoyable. I like strategy games. I am big into RTSs and 4X games, so that could be something that I like. The whole and Gears Tactics is different. That was turn-based, but it is top-down. Age of Empires 4 has finally gotten a release date coming in October, I believe. And that's an RTS, not one that really interests me, but I know my wife is going to be loving that, so we'll probably pick that up. But
Okay.
do you play strategy games at all?
You know, and I actually got the most recent Civilization, and
Yeah.
I refunded the game.
Ooh.
I'm not, when it comes to Civilization and 4X games and things like that. The only RTS games that I played, there was a Halo one that was, or actually it wasn't Halo. It was a game that came out that had a mod that was Halo. I occasionally enjoy RTS games, but they have to be pretty soft for me to get into them, not extremely difficult or not have a high learning curve.
Hmm.
Um, just never been my forte, but I will say, as compared to these top-down shooters or platformer games, I've given them much more of a try.
A
I
fighting
would say
chance.
I've gave them a fighting chance. I've refunded most of them, but there are ones that I really like. There's a Star Wars Empire at War RTS that I play actually quite frequently, and then the Halo one. So I guess I have to get really involved in the universe of the RTS and actually Halo as well, with Halo Wars 2
Okay.
games that I play. Yeah.
So then let me read you this.
Mhm.
Falling Frontier. Have you
That's going to be an interesting one for me. Well, yeah, we've talked about that. I don't know. I may get it just so I understand the scope of Star Citizen. You know, it'll be one of
the
those games that I buy for a purpose.
they just released a new video.
Oh, they
I
did?
think it was today.
I gotta find
It's
it now.
no, it's not worth it. I mean, it is
Oh,
worth
it's
it. It's
not?
it's a 5-second video. It's a teaser,
Oh.
and they're teasing the Star System creator
Hmm.
because in Falling Frontier, you're going to be able to create custom star systems with different planets and stars. You're basically going to be able to, at least considering it'll be relatively full featured, I'm thinking you'll be able to replicate basically any of the systems from your favorite fictions. The the Expanse is just the normal system, but like a Halo
Hmm.
system, a Star Citizen system, a Star Wars system, you could
Oh,
create
yeah.
those and then play the RTS game in those. That would be very cool. So that's something that
Yeah.
really interests me about it, on top of a lot of other things about this game. But Falling Frontiers, definitely something that's on my list. It's not something that we saw in the Microsoft show. It just kind of came up because we were
Mhm.
talking about Age of Empires, but it's an exciting game, a smaller one, but definitely one that I want to keep a very close eye on. And I think I'll be
It'll
playing
be
the early access. It's coming out later this year.
I probably will too. I mean, it'll be a case study for me for Star Citizen, so I really understand how managing larger fleets work, because it'll definitely be a skill that I'll need and you'll need too. So
Mhm. Yeah. So now that we've successfully transitioned back to sci-fi, because we just haven't gotten enough of that yet, let's talk about Outer
oh
Worlds
no.
2, which
Hmm.
was teased with a pretty hilarious trailer. To be honest, they're just making fun of themselves because they don't have the
Yeah.
game even. It's basically not even started, which I find that funny. They went and they put a lot of money into this like really nice trailer to basically say, "Hey, we got the name and like there's gonna be a sequel, but I don't know what else is gonna be there." Like,
Hmm.
thank you, Obsidian. It was a funny trailer though, and the first game I think was pretty cool. The first
Hmm.
game, however, was made not under Microsoft's backing, and actually after a pretty painful period of funding for them. They had just had a not great
Yeah.
financial time. And so going into the first
Hmm.
Outer Worlds, they kind of had to cut content. They couldn't do as much as they wanted to. So I'm thinking now that they've made it clear that they can make this RPG, they've gotten Microsoft to come in and say, "Okay, we got your back," and uh, they clearly have much more attention. I think this is going to be a lot more impressive RPG from them. So this is one to keep on the radar.
Yeah, sure.
That's it.
Sure.
Sure. What
True.
is what's your hesitancy?
Outer Worlds, the first one. Um, is
Well, that's what I'm saying, man.
um,
The first one is going to
it,
be.
yeah,
I mean, the difference in the company when they made the first one and this one is quite
is oh
vast.
yeah, absolutely. I just we'll see. We'll see.
Well, fair enough. We will
It was
see.
definitely an on the nose announcement. I'll say that for
I'm
sure.
I'm trying to think. I'm trying to think of another example. Um,
This would be like if CD Projekt Red announced Cyberpunk. Let's say it like that. Like, oh
I mean,
god,
Outer Worlds
that's the
wasn't
same kind of feeling.
broken.
It wasn't broken. Yeah,
It
I'm just
wasn't.
trying to
There
convey the same
were
kind of feeling I would have.
Sure, but I think the best way to look at it is that Outer Worlds might have had problems that didn't necessarily vibe with you, but would you say it had fundamental problems that made it an objectively bad game?
Nah, I wouldn't.
And I feel the company at the team at Obsidian has at the very least proven they can make a good game. So, with the right direction, I feel they could make something that
Hmm.
you'd be interested in.
Yeah,
I'm not
I'll
saying
wait
you
and
to go
see.
all in, just have an open mind.
Pre-order, hell yeah. No,
uh
yeah,
And then there is the Microsoft Flight Sim
yeah.
that's getting an update. I've not touched it. I actually downloaded the game and then I started it and it was like, hey, you got to download this other 60 gigabytes. And I was like, no.
Yeah,
So I don't know if you've played it, but it's getting an update.
yeah,
And I know a lot of people in the community at least like that game. I know my dad does.
yeah, yeah. It's cool. I played the original flight, Microsoft Flight Sim. I played the new one too. It's a fun game. It's Top Gun Maverick, so we're gonna get the F-18 in the game, which will be cool. Of course, Microsoft Flight Sim has a lot of overlap with Stars because a lot of the flight sim communities, people who have simulated cockpits, also known as sim pits, they tend to play both of these games, as well as like War Thunder 2. So a lot of the HOTAS using things like that have for both Star Citizen and Microsoft Flight Sim.
Yeah.
When Microsoft Flight Sim came out, we were in our old organization. I got completely taken over by everybody getting into that game. So a lot of overlap as far as the whole, HOTAS setup and flying goes. It's a pretty neat game. I think I flew over my house twice and I haven't touched it since, but definitely got some content. It's fun to play with friends, that's for
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah.
I would say that's the thing I enjoy the most about the
Cool.
game. Mhm.
And then Forza Horizon 5, that's a big one. A very
Oh
big one.
yeah,
It's one of the most beautiful games I think I've ever seen.
that was awesome. And we're in Mexico now, which is going to be really cool.
Yeah.
It seems like a very beautiful racing game with lots of multiplayer drop in, drop out features. Open world looks awesome. Lots of arcadey kind of stuff that you can do with your friends. I
Mhm.
used to play Forza quite a bit whenever I had an Xbox. I got away from it because now I'm on a keyboard. And yeah, thinking about possibly getting back into Forza as long as I have friends that play it.
It might be
Because
worth
I don't.
considering.
Yeah, absolutely. What about you? Are you thinking about possibly getting this game?
Maybe. I like you used to play it. I used to play Forza Motorsport,
Mhm.
and then I would have Test
Mhm.
Drive Unlimited on the side for my multiplayer.
Oh
But
yeah.
now Forza is covering both those spots, and to be honest, Horizon has really taken the spotlight from Motorsport. This looks
Hmm.
like a very beautiful game, like you said. A lot of
Yeah.
drop in, drop out abilities, so multiplayer is going to be a breeze. You'll be able to race around and
Hmm.
drive around with your friends, and just overall, sounds like a great game. Biggest map ever. They sound like they're incorporating more of a story this time, so that you can adventure out into the land and kind of
Hmm.
unlock areas and different things to do as you discover them.
Hmm.
So I think this is. It sounds like they have finally understood that Forza Horizon is an important franchise that they need to build more into than just drive with your friends and play. They need to give people a reason to want to come back or to want to stick around. That's not just, oh, your friends online.
Yeah.
And this feels like a
Exactly.
doubling down on that sort of
Hmm.
on that drive, and I like it. I'm excited to see what it is. I'll keep an eye on it. I'll play it on Game Pass, but I don't know how much I'll play it.
Hmm.
Driving games
Absolutely.
don't get me like they used to.
They don't get me like they used to either, man. I
Yeah.
used to be so into them. I mean, I played Burnout. I played Need for Speed Midnight Dove Edition on my PlayStation, man. I mean, I was just hardcore into those games. I have friends that we'd go to car meets on Friday nights, and then we'd go home. It'd be midnight. We'd hop on, Forza or something.
Yeah.
I used to be so into the car community and car games and stuff, and now it's just like,
Same.
nope,
Yeah.
not anymore.
Well, the show was finished off with a one last thing from Arcane, who is a very good studio. They made the likes of Prey. They made the Dishonored games. They are respected. They are renowned. And I don't think they've made a game that has been rated poorly. They're making
Mhm.
this new game. It's called Redfall. It's a squad-based shooter, and it's kind of like the other one. What was the other one? Back for Blood. It's kind of like that, except instead of zombies, you're fighting vampires. The trailer was cool, at times a little cheesy, but ultimately it looked really cool in that you're playing as a squad with everybody having different abilities, and rather than just having those abilities be specific to you and only yours, they made these abilities so that they play off of each other, so that when you're playing in a squad, you have to play with your team or else you're just not going to do well. This is what we were talking about in Battlefield. I thought this was a cool aspect of the game. The team, like I said, it was made by Dishonored team uh Arcane, but it was actually there was two studios. One split off to go do Prey after Dishonored was finished, while the other one kept making Dishonored and Dishonored 2. Now they're coming
Mhm.
back together in order to make this final game, and I think that's big testament that they're trying to get a large team around this game. I think this is going to be a big one for the Xbox as well.
Yeah, and that's one, I'm reading here your notes, players playing off each other's abilities, strong co-op game. I love a good co-op game.
Yeah.
Is this something that you think I might be interested in here? I don't know much about Arcane as a studio, so.
They are very, very good at building choice into their game.
Mhm.
Dishonored is famously known for allowing you to like kind of freeze time and have all these different abilities and just give you an area and tell you figure out how to get through this area, kill who you need to kill, maybe don't kill somebody if you don't need to. Just tons and tons of choice. Prey is the
Mhm.
exact same way. Prey is an immersive sim in that everything makes sense in the game. You can technically use this weapon to break the game, right? To like get past the level, but that's what you're supposed to do because it's an immersive sim. And I'm thinking
Mhm.
if they take that and bring it into this popular genre of squad-based shooters, like what are we gonna get? That gets me really interested.
Hmm.
So
Okay.
this one, honestly, I think would be even more interesting than Back for Blood. I'm still waiting to hear more about it, but this is one of the most interesting games in the conference, in my opinion. It's out of left field. It is from a very, very well-respected video studio. It is backed by a massive company, and it was a show ender. If they wanted to put this on the last showing for a conference that included Halo Infinite and Starfield, This is probably going to be a big game.
Well, and this ended day 3. Yes, yesterday, right?
3. I think it was 2 days ago. Was it
2?
yesterday?
I think it
Yeah,
was
that was it
yesterday.
was 2 days ago. 2 days ago
Uh,
because I was
Oh, so
streaming yesterday.
Sunday.
Yeah,
Okay. So that ended the second show.
yeah,
Okay, got it.
yeah. That ended the Xbox Bethesda one, but
Mhm.
that was the closing, and it was a very impressive one. Do you remember that trailer?
Yes, I did. I saw the trailer, which is actually I meant to talk to you about Redfall before we even started this podcast. But yeah, that was one that really I kind of interested. It was definitely an interesting end to their con for sure. But I don't know. I don't know how I feel about it. Something very new for me.
It is very. Oh, you mean the style of game?
The style of game, yeah, very new for me. I've never played anything like it, I would say.
Left 4 Dead.
Hmm, yeah, I guess you could say Left 4 Dead. I can see some similarities, yeah.
I think that's at least I felt that was the closest um, look to it. But overall, the tone of this conference was incredible. Xbox and Microsoft overall did a very good job of coming out not only to quiet all the people who were saying that they didn't have any games, but to prove that those games are high quality. They have been running this strategy for a long time. They've been acquiring companies left and right for almost 8 years now. And it's really starting to show off. I mean, some of the companies that make games that are considered to be Microsoft staples were not originally from Microsoft.
Yep.
And they've taken these companies and allowed them to benefit from a larger audience, more funding, and a louder voice. And these companies have made amazing games with that opportunity. And I'm so happy to see more of what's coming. Their strategy right now, I believe, is to release a new game every quarter on Game Pass, which is an unreal proposition, but it's the kind of thing that you want to hear if you're signing up for an investment like Game Pass. And I think they've just done a phenomenal job at making sure, hey, if you want to play games, this is the best place to do it. We've got the strongest console, we've also got the cheapest console, and we've got the most games. So,
Yeah, and I feel like that really ties a lot into, the whole Xbox Game Pass, point.
yeah,
You know, if you there was an article that I shared with you from Forbes of, man, if you took a shot every time they said Game Pass or you saw anything on Game Pass, fucking passed out by the middle of this conference, because
yup,
holy crap, they're pushing it so hardcore. And Forbes actually did an article, kind of comparing, the math behind Xbox Game Pass versus $70 Sony games will snowball quickly. Where they were comparing that, hey, if you're getting the Game Pass, the cost of it for a year and the cost of the console, it was kind of crazy. I mean, Sony, I've never been a fan of. This is not just me being a big fan of Xbox, but Sony's games, just, from a completely neutral standpoint, if I can even have one, they weren't really ever, most of the games were not ones I was ever interested in paying for individually.
mm-hmm.
But now Xbox, not only do they have games that, hell, I would pay $60, $70 each, pay them. Now they're coming out with Game Pass where I can play all these games, every month. And oh,
And
I
you can get
mean,
pretty good deals on it too. You can usually find deals for discounts on it. But
exactly, and you can get discounts too.
yeah,
So
it
it's
is it is 100%
uh,
their strategy. Game Pass is the center of their world. Microsoft has said themselves they're not trying to get you to play their console. They're trying to get you to play their games. Game Pass is available on PC, on the phone, on other devices, on Xbox, and they have 19 games. 19 games coming out on Game Pass in between now, mid-June, and the end of the year. That includes Halo Infinite, Forza Horizon,
mhm.
Scorn, Microsoft Flight Simulator. These are not small games. It's
Microsoft is really, really paving the way for the console generation that's playing right now to eventually move to PC and not feel but a hiccup,
yeah,
because you can now play the same games with any progression that you've had on Xbox. Well, guess what? You decided to get $1,000 gaming PC, low to mid tier entry level, and you throw away that Xbox. Well, guess what? All those games you played, all the progression you had, you can just pick right back up where you were on
yeah.
PC. And Sony, how's Sony going to do that? How can they do that? Because they don't like they're ever, anything PC oriented. So they've got to figure out what they're going to do.
Yeah. Yeah, I'll be interested to see how Sony comes back at this. It's been made pretty clear over the last couple months that Sony is feeling the heat with Game Pass. And, I think Sony is a fantastic company. I think they put out amazing games, but I,
Mhm.
I think the fact that they weren't at E3, we don't really know what's going on with their event this summer. And the relative silence,
Mhm.
other than that news on Horizon Zero Dawn, has been a little too loud.
It has. I mean, silence speaks volumes, just like you said. Sony State of Play when? We don't really know. They've got to do something this summer. I mean, come on. I mean, we need some competitor to Xbox. Dang it, you know?
Yeah, I would really, really
Uh,
hope we might see some God of War stuff, but I imagine
yeah,
we
yeah.
probably won't get anything more than a teaser, if that.
Mm-hmm.
But
Yeah.
yeah, and there were other gaming events, right? We got EA Play, we've
Yeah.
got Summer Games Fest. What's some of the other stuff we have going on?
Well, yeah, so we had Summer Game Fest 2021, which happened on Thursday, which was
Okay.
a pretty good lead up, maybe not so good lead up to E3, because I actually saw at least 4 or 5 videos that I saw during the Summer Game Fest, which were world premieres at E3. So I was like, okay, but Amazon Prime's kind of doing its thing. They're wanting to get into gaming, so hell, let's have a festival. Why not? So
Of
cool.
course they want
Kudos
to
to
get into
them.
gaming.
Kudos to of course they want to get in everything, man.
Yeah,
They get in our pants if they could, right? Well, technically
they
they
do.
could with their
Yeah,
phones,
they
but
sell them to us.
anyway, they sell our pants to us too.
Yeah.
But that was an interesting one. I hope we continue to see the Summer Game Fest. It was I will say I liked the presenters for Summer Game Fest more than I liked E3. I felt that a good bit of the E3 presenters were kind of annoying, especially their commentary between shows. I was like, holy crap, I can't find the mute button soon enough. We do have EA Play coming July 22nd, which we
Hmm.
will see much, much, much more about, some EA games that are going to be coming out. It's kind of hard because we're not going to have BlizzCon this year. And I don't think next year I don't think we're going to have it either. So I believe we're going to see some Blizzard tie-ins with EA Play. We're going to hear a lot more about Battlefield, including an
Yeah.
unreleased game mode, I believe, something. They're
Yeah.
hinting. We
That
don't know
was
what it
I
is.
meant to mention that earlier. That was something that I
Mhm.
was going to say might help to mitigate that argument that it's too much money for one game because
Mhm.
that other game mode they're making is being made entirely by another studio. So it could, for all we know, have content that's worth an entire game, you know?
Mhm.
So I'm interested in seeing what they're going to say at EA Play about that. I also think they're going to probably drop a new trailer for the new Dragon Age game coming out, and I don't think they'll say anything about Mass Effect, but maybe if we're lucky, we'll get like a teaser image or something.
Yeah. I guess we'll see. I'm mainly excited for EA Play because of Battlefield because I'm like,
Yeah.
holy crap, my expectation is so low. Can it go any lower? I'm digging the hole right now just in case it can. I got my shovel in the closet, you know. But what's the saving grace here?
But your
I
main
guess we'll
issue
find
with
out.
it is just that there's no campaign, right? As far as
That
the actual quality
is
of the game looks, do you think it looks like fun?
um,
Okay, I
uh,
see.
the whole specialist thing. I just feel like the main reason why I liked Battlefield was because you had a lot of team play involved. You didn't get that with Call of Duty in a lot of cases. So you had a lot of team coordination, and they're taking away from that by having this individuality of almost a loadout esque kind of specialist, right?
Yeah.
So I think there's a lot of factors that are making me not like this game. I'm just looking for something that might be the saving grace, that might make me want to buy it when it's selling for $30 or $20, right?
I get that.
If it would ever even get that low.
Yeah, we'll
So,
see. We'll
you
see.
know. Mhm.
But that was the Microsoft Bethesda conference, and it was a joy. I loved it. I think they had a lot of really, really good games this year. And the craziest part, in my opinion, is that we heard about and just talked about all these games that they've talked about, announced, released new trailers for, but we still didn't hear anything about Avowed coming from Obsidian, Fable 4 coming from Playground Games, Perfect Dark coming from The Initiative. Those are three huge games, and we didn't even hear a peep about them.
Mhm.
So next year, it's not like this year we got a bunch of games and next year's going to be quiet. Next year's quite clearly going to be pretty loud with a lot of stuff as well.
Yeah.
So You know, I'm not sitting back. I am hyped. I'm ready for good years of gaming after this.
Hmm. It should be good. I think this year we're going to get some games. I think next year we're going to get some pretty solid games as well. We had I would say, a decently considerable drought in 2019. 2020, we saw almost nothing. I mean, besides Cyberpunk.
Just things kept getting delayed.
Things kept getting delayed because of
Yeah.
COVID. So we're finally getting to that point where now companies are having to put out their products because you can't claim COVID anymore. Vaccines are rolling out. So hopefully we're getting back to normal in more ways than one.
Yeah. Well, I'm excited to see whatever comes next. Draazen, thank you so much for joining me for this one. Again, everybody who's watching this on YouTube or listening on whatever your favorite podcast service is, make sure to give it a thumbs up, give it a review, give it a rating. Let us know what you liked or didn't like. Leave some comments and hop into our Discord. Chat with us. We've got a whole community of gaming people who love gaming and are people, and they need people to talk to like you. So come check us out. Come join us. And well, thank you so much for watching or listening. We will catch you on the next one. And this has been Space Tomato and Draazen. Have a good one.